your time code. Time code's up. Audio, you good? Everybody good?
Yep.
Good go.
Welcome to the White Horse and another Genesee County primary election forum. I'm Tom Sumner, and today we're exploring the race for the Genesee County Board of Commissioners' 7th District seat, currently held by Archie Bailey. He's decided not to run for re-election, so this is an open seat. And today we'll meet the Democrats running in the August primary for that seat. Before I get to the introductions, I want to thank the White Horse and all of you who have gathered here today, whether you're a candidate, a pundit, member of the technical teams making this available for replay on radio, the internet, or television, or if you're a member of the audience. Now the introductions. In a moment, I will introduce the candidates and they will be given an opportunity to make brief opening statements, but first, our esteemed panelists. I'll begin by welcoming our esteemed panel of premier political pundits. They are Paul Rosicki from Mont Community College. Paul, good to see you as always.
Good to be here.
George Moss from the University of Michigan Flint, down on the other end. George, always good to see you.
Thank you, Tom.
And last but certainly not least, our media guest panelist, and back again with us for the second time, WFNT's news director, Jason Cooper. Jason, good to see you always.
Glad to be here, Tom. Thanks.
Now on to the candidates and the rules of engagement. If you don't know by now, there are 4 Democrats running in the August primary for the 7th District seat on the Genesee County Board of Commissioners. They are, and I think we've got them, this will be from right to left, I guess. First, Bill Bain. Welcome, Bill. Thanks for being here.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
And also, now, all 4 candidates were invited. Mark Kuzniel is not here. If for some reason he's late, we'll allow him to join us as this progresses along. But we'll stick to the format. In the meantime, with 3 that are remaining up next, we have Andrew Everman. Andy, good to see you here.
Good to see you, Tom.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. And again, last but not least, it's always kind of rough when you do this in alphabetical order, because then people don't know if you're, giving somebody else a bigger billing. But lastly, Michael Lynch. Michael, it's nice to meet you, sir, and thanks for participating.
Thanks for having me.
In a moment, I'll give each of you 2 minutes for an opening statement, and we'll begin the questions from the panel. There will be an opportunity for a closing statement at the end as well. Onto the forum, but first a few guidelines. Time is tight. We're going to try to keep it equal, so try to be specific and brief when answering. I say this every week. I know that's an oxymoron in any political discussion, but you will have 90 seconds for each answer. When you hear this bell, you have 15 seconds to complete your answer. We'll start the opening statements with Bill Bain, and then the first question will go to Andy Everman. Then I'll try to rotate which candidate answers first and last throughout the rest of the forum. I caution the panelists, George Moss, that you have 30 seconds in which to set up context for each of your questions. If you get to 30 seconds, you will hear the bell, and I will ask you to ask your question. Now for the opening statements. Remember, you have 2 minutes. When you hear the bell, you have 15 seconds to finish your comment. And please address your comments to the panel or the audience and not to each other. We want a forum, not a debate. Mr. Bain, we start with you. You have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you, Tom. My name's Bill Bain. I live in Flushing Township. I'm a former Town Cinema Theater manager. I'm a Metro Alliance trustee currently, and I'm a former UAW Executive Board trustee. I'm running for this position because I want to serve the residents of Genesee County. I have a lot of innovative ideas that I think will be very helpful. And some of the issues that are facing us are staffing of the jail. We're having a lot of lawsuits at the Sheriff's Department and in Genesee County in general. We need to make sure that we have our priorities for the budgets. And that's one of the issues there. Public safety is very important to me. Jobs, job creation, and making a good environment for creating jobs. Basically, that's about it, you know. Thank you.
I hope George is as brief with his questions as you were with your opening statement. We'll move on now to Andy Everman. We have 2 minutes.
I'm Andrew Everman. I'm running for Genesee County Commissioner in the 7th District. I have the energy, compassion, and sound judgment to change and build the transparency which the residents would like to see happen in our county. I believe in using performance budgeting to look at our budget, to see how it works. I believe in being out in the community, listening to the residents. I also believe that the board meetings need to go on the road. We need to look at having them in different communities. We did this at Mott Community College. And we also need to look at having our board meetings at a different time. Instead of just having them at 8 and 9 in the morning, we need to look at having them in the evening. And Montrose, Clio, and then looking at having them down at the southern part, on the eastern side of the county. So all the residents know the value of what our government can do for them. I will represent my constituents and work to the best of my ability to help answer their questions and their problems. Thank you.
Thank you. And you have 2 minutes as well. Michael Lynch.
I'd like to start with thanking you, Tom, for having me here tonight and the panels as well. My name, as you said, is Mike Lynch. I'm running for Genesee County Commissioner, 7th District. I was brought up on a farm. I am currently a bricklayer of 32 years, so I know what hard work is. And I would be ready from day one to go work hard. I have 19 of those years I represented the bricklayers and allied craft workers. I've spent those years negotiating contracts in some of the toughest economic times that I've ever known, and I come up and started in the 80s, which was also a tough time. Those contracts were tough decisions at times. We had to make some concessions at times, but those things have to be done, and we've made some hard decisions. Also, during the 19 years, I sat on a couple of trust funds of up over a couple $100 million. So I know how to deal with labor and management and professionals to work together to try to make these decisions, and I hope to bring that to this job. I will always have the working man's heart in my heart.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And we'll start the questions with Paul Rosicki. He'll have the first question, and we'll start with Andy Everman, then go on to Michael Lynch for his response, and then Bill Bain, and then we'll keep moving down the line as we go. So, your question, Paul Rosicki.
Right, thank you.
Flint's premier political pundit, by the way.
Thank you, Tom. I'd like to thank the candidates for being here tonight. It's a great effort to have you here, and it's worthwhile to hear your voices. One of the biggest issues this year is road repair. I mean, clearly the roads have been in rough shape. What role could the county play in rebuilding Michigan's roads, and in particular, would you favor any kind of a tax increase to deal with the road issue?
That's your question?
Yeah.
Okay. The way the road commission is set up, they're appointed by the county commissioners. In each township, 2 trustees serve on the panel that drives around their township with 1 citizen to evaluate the roads. They then, on an appointed day of the year, make that report to the road commission. The road commission then comes to the county commissioners and asks for funding and help receiving funding. The county commissioner's job is then to work with legislators, regardless of party affiliation, to receive the fundings. Within the past few years, during our current governor's reign, he has given tax breaks to fat cats throughout the state in about $36 billion. If we had $1 billion of that money back, we would clearly have the money to repair the roads within our area. Ideas have been floated to put together taking 69 from the federal government and then making it a toll road. The idea has been looked at by the state legislature in the past when Lee Gonzalez was a state rep. they found that it was not effective to do that we didn't have the money to upkeep it, and we would actually lose money if we tried to do it and offend our constituents.
Thank you. And 90 seconds, same question goes to Michael Lynch.
I'd like to start with saying I'm a little disappointed in our Lansing legislators to begin with. This is kind of a state issue, is where most of this comes from. I mean, they went from 500 million down to, up to $1 billion, and then now it's absolutely zero. They're not going to do anything about it. As far as at the county level, I mean, you have to stay in touch with your people that are in the street and what they want. You let your legislators know what they need and where we could go. And then, quite frankly, you let it go to the road commission at that time and work with them people. But at the state level, it is just absolutely ridiculous what they're doing to our roads out there. They're paying no attention to any roads that the working people are going on, more so putting money in the roads that are for the tourists in the north. It's not helping us here.
Thank you, sir. And same question, you have 90 seconds, Bill Bain.
Well, federal revenues are going to continue to dwindle, and road funding this winter has compounded problems threefold, paving the roads. What my suggestion is, and there's been talk since about 2011 by other states, that begin a toll road, but not actually a toll road, but what I'm proposing is throw and go toll booths, incoming, just for incoming traffic. I've got the actual stats from the state of Michigan, 284,000 passenger vehicles daily and 58,900 semi-trucks on a daily basis. That could create a significant revenue stream. Now, we would have to get permission from the federal government, Highway and Transportation Department, but I think this is a reasonable way to go. It wouldn't put a big burden on where you'd have to go ahead and stop every time like normal toll roads. But for Canada, Indiana, Ohio, all those incoming to Michigan, I think that's what we should do. I think it's a good way to do. Instead of the ideas coming out of Lansing, doubling the gas tax, $125 increase on vehicle registration. Well, Governor Snyder and the representatives out there are like, it's like Robin Hood and his merry men, but it's in reverse. So, but thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to take just a very short break for sponsors and ID, but we'll be back with more of our conversation with the Democrats running for the 7th District Genesee County Board of Commissioners seat right after this. I'm actually just kind of faking a break here. We're going to continue right there. I have to segment this recording so that when it's aired and broadcast, they have someplace to put sponsors, etc. We will take a couple of breaks where we'll actually get to stretch our legs. And I will ask the candidates if you could either pull the microphones a little bit closer or speak a little bit closer to the microphone so people can hear you better. Well, Andy's probably the lightest of the three, but we could probably handle it if all of you are a little stronger. All right, here we go. And
Is this round two?
yeah.
Okay, cut it. Hang it. All right, now we're good.
And we're back here at the White Horse with another candidate forum, and we're focusing on the 7th District of Genesee County Board of Commissioners. We continue our questions of the candidates with our political pundits Paul Rosicki, George Moss, and Jason Cooper from WFNT. And the next question actually goes to Jason, and the candidate to respond, I believe we're going to be starting with Michael Lynch.
Gentlemen, thank you all for being here today. Tom, thanks for having me. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting in the same chair, and one of the candidates said that the budget was in the black. All of you referenced the budget in your opening remarks. Talked with the Genesee County Commissioner earlier today who's worried about the budget and said if they don't get the budget figured out, it could lead to layoffs. I want to hear some suggestions from you guys for maybe improving the budget, being a little bit more transparent, and what you could do to avoid those layoffs if it does indeed, possibly come to that.
Well, I'm a firm believer in the balanced budget. We need to balance that budget, and it helps us with our bonds. It helps us with all our stuff. As far as the layoffs, that would be a terrible thing. But the best thing I think we can do right now, I mean, we've been making cuts that are tremendous and is about as deep as we can go, but we need to check into as much as we can in shared services to try to make sure that there's as little to no waste that we can through all the department heads. And I think through that, and you know, it takes money to run the church, quite frankly. Maybe there needs to be a millage or something, but it takes money to run the church, and quite frankly, you know, we're going to really have to take a close look at that. Shared services, I think, being the biggest help of the whole thing.
Thank you. Same question goes now to Bill Bain. You have 90 seconds.
This is the county budget. What we need to do is we need to look at these things, not like cutting here or there, but go line by line and look at every bit of expenditure. Relook at the financial institutions where we keep the revenues, even if we can get a better percentage, even a small percentage could be more revenue. Also, I want to bring up, I know there's not a lot of time, but like animal control, there's really atrocious conditions there. Now, if we looked at what Midland did, Midland had budget problems, but what they ended up doing was they ended up renting the animal control for $1 to Genesee County, or what would have been the Humane Society out there, and they ran it, and that was a savings of over $210,000 in savings for the county of Midland. Now, if you look at our budget of $600,000 for the animal control, you know, there could be some significant savings right there. So we need to relook at things. We're in a new economy, and we need to be creative in how we look at this. This is up for renewal in September, too. Thank you.
I always want to ask when I see a document like that if you've actually read it. Same question goes to Andrew Everman.
As I mentioned in my opening statement, I believe in performance budgeting. That's when you go through your line item budget, look at expenses and how it relates to, in its most simplest explanation, is you look at how that budget expense relates to the mission of the county. If it doesn't, why are we spending the money on that? Bill had some good ideas, you know, Mike has had some good ideas too. There are some concerns about how we're going to raise revenues. And quite frankly, until there's an entire new look at the way the taxing structure is done in the state of Michigan, I think we're going to continually annually have these problems. And until the legislature puts on their big boy pants and step up to the plate and does their job, we'll continue to have problems. Proposal 1, which we haven't touched on yet, could very much in fact affect small communities. It will help large communities like Detroit and Flint that have lost manufacturing bases, but most of the communities throughout the state are pretty small, and that's what it's going to affect. And when one reads Proposal 1, it's so convoluted, the average taxpayer is going to wonder, what the heck are they talking about? As a business person who has used many attorneys, Ira Bear, Otis Stout, Doug Philpott, who knew how to write contracts that were easy to understand, why couldn't they do that when they brought forth Proposal 1?
Thank you. Have we made it through the candidates for Jason's question? I've been putting it off, but George Moss is up next, so really give that bell a whack if you need to, Andrea.
I have been practicing my brevity, so I'm going to be very brief here.
George, the first response I believe goes to Bill Bain.
A little reputation. I want to, first of all, welcome all of you to the panel. You have some very good ideas. I want to go back to the budget question. I've heard panelists say the monies are going to be very short streamed and federal money not coming in as it should, and of course the tax base is going to be a problem as well. The question then becomes, how do we use the monies we have wisely? And what I want to ask is, what do you need to do systemically in terms of fixing some of the ways in which counties operate, so that the monies of the Central Lansing are put in the coffers where they belong, rather than Peter paying Paul and now we got to come back and get road money because spend road money on something else. So how do you plan to address that as an issue?
We need to look at everything in the whole, as far as like the budget as a whole. And what we need to do is we need to be firm and toe the mark where those monies are supposed to go and stick to it. Now, again, getting back to ways we could save on the budget, I mean, Genesee County, we have lovely landscaping at all our county buildings. Now, I need to look a little deeper into if it's like coming out of the building fund or if we've got garden clubs volunteering, but you know, we need to look if maybe we can cut back a little bit on some of the expenses there and some of our buildings if they're not energy efficient. Can we do something to cut down those utility costs? Do we have too many buildings? Do we need to consolidate? We need to look at all those issues. And again, we need to go through every single item to find the solutions for this, and we need to work together. Thank you.
Okay, Andy Everman, same question.
Once again, I go back to performance budgeting. At Mott Community College, we have about a $75 million budget. We are required, as in the Finance Committee, which I serve on, I'm no longer a trustee, so I have served on it. We're required to look at what the expenses were, whether or not they're fulfilling our mission, and if they're not, why are we spending the money? And then you've got to pull the money and tell people, you have 2 to 3 years to get this in line, or the money's going to be gone. We have to go with the services that are needed in our community. The magic bullet to this, I don't think any of us can sit up here in good conscience and try to tell you we have all the answers until we are seated in the seat of a county commissioner and know the ins and outs, but we actually have a better handle on how to take care of this.
Okay, Mike Lynch, same question.
Back again, I believe we'll have to do it through some shared services and maybe some consolidating as well. As far as moving the money from Peter to pay Paul, I think, you know, when you set up a budget, that people need to live in their means. Those departments need to live in their means. If you're not going to gain anything from robbing from one to the other, that doesn't make more money or more budget. I have to agree with Andy a little bit on the, we won't really know until we come in this seat to really know what we can do with that budget.
All right, thanks. We have time to squeeze in a question from Paul Rosicki as well. First response comes from Andy Everman.
Yes, my question is, there's been some talk about whether or not the county should go to a county executive form of government. What are your views on that? Should we consider that, either a county executive or even a county manager?
I would be interested in looking into it, but not immediately. I think this is perhaps a 6 to 8 year project where we need to have community meetings similar to what the city of Flint did, putting together their master plan. If you were to ask people, for example, in Montrose, they would see no reason to do this. They run their township and their city quite efficiently. But as Mike mentioned, and I have also mentioned in the past, shared services are very important. For example, now we do the water. We have a sheriff's department, perhaps working with the state police to help put together a regional form of police protection, as well as the fire protection. But it has to be done in increments. We have to look at the broad picture, and there has to be buy-in from the community, because without the stakeholders' interest in doing this, it's a failed project. So I would like to see it happen, but it's a long-term process. There has to be buy-in from the community.
Question goes now to Mike Lynch.
Well, I would not be opposed to the idea. I believe this was on a ballot at one time and failed quite dramatically, but I would not be opposed to looking into it. In my past occupation as a rep, I mean, we've hired professionals in the past to come in and bring new ideas and to work with other departments to try to bring some stuff to the table that maybe we didn't think of. So I would not be opposed to it. I don't think maybe it should be an elected position, but maybe a voted position amongst the board members themselves with an interview process. And then I would not be opposed to that.
Bill Bain, same question.
I'd be afraid of you losing the local voice for the people if you don't have the commissioners. But what my thoughts are is I commend the commissioners when they reduce the salaries for county commissioners by 3.5%. Well, what I think we should do we're not the big community we used to be. I think we should reduce it by another 10%. And I think we should go ahead and we should put those salaries and get them to the sheriff's department so we can have proper staffing for the jail. Those people put their lives on the line and they want to come back home to their families. I'm a strong advocate of police and public safety, but you know, you got to look at, we're not in boom times anymore. And but I'm a little. I have my reservations about that being under one head. I'd rather have a local input where the community can go ahead and say, "This is my commissioner." So that's how I feel about that.
Great. Thanks, Bill. With that, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more of our conversation with Jason Cooper and Paul Rosicki and George Moss and the candidates for the 7th District Democratic primary in August for the 7th District Genesee County Board of Commissioners seat. We'll be back with more right after this.
You ready to get on top of your hand for a clip?
Nice plug,
What's that?
Nice
Come
plug.
closer to it. Wait for us to give you the call. Point at the camera. Come closer, come closer, come closer, come closer, come closer.
We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do, I'm just kind of faking this break. We'll come back. I think, who gets the next question? Remember?
Tilt it down a little
I know George and Jason have questions, but we go to Michael to start the round when we come back. Much better job on the microphones. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Okay, and we're back. Welcome back to the White Horse and this candidate forum as we get to know the candidates running in the Democratic primary for the 7th District seat of the Genesee County Board of Commissioners with our political pundits here, Paul Rosicki, George Moss, and Jason Cooper from WFNT. And the question goes next to candidate Michael Lynch, and asking that question is Jason Cooper from Conversations with Jason Cooper at WFNT.
Thanks, Tom. You know, I heard consolidation in one of the answers. I'm sorry? Two plugs for me. Thank you. I heard consolidation in one of the answers just a few moments ago. And I've heard talk about consolidation of the courts in Genesee County, the district court, the circuit court, of course, friends of the court, and probate. Wanted to get your thoughts on consolidation of the courts and whether or not you think it's a good idea, and maybe how it might, if that happens, how it might affect residents in your districts.
Well, the court system now is major plugged. I mean, the consolidation, you know, it's hard to get a court date now. I don't know if they're going to be consolidating them and shrinking them up, if there's going to be able to get the people that need to be convicted or family court or whatever that might be done in a timely manner. That worries me a little bit. The time wait now can be up to 6 months or longer to even get to your court date. So, I mean, I believe in consolidation, but I also don't want to harm the system any more than it has to be done. So, I don't know if I would really be in favor of doing that at this time.
Thanks, sir. Same question goes to Bill Bain.
You know, I agree with the fact of keeping the same number of judges on, but I mean, if we can save some of these leases, you know, we can save some revenue, have a big enough building to house the judges and make sure we can still get the cases through, that might be something worth looking at.
Okay. Boy, George is really going to have an act to follow here coming up in just a moment. Andy Everman, same question goes to you. 90 seconds.
The consolidation of the courts, I believe there was a county commissioner who went on to be a state rep. The reason I remember this so well is I ran against him one time, and he promised that we were going to reduce the courts in Genesee County as part of his platform for running for state rep. Once he got to Lansing, he quickly forgot about that. Can it be done? Yeah, it can be done. Are there as many people living in Genesee County as there has been in the past? No. Is there as much crime or more crime? There probably is. And the word consolidate? Let's get rid of some of the county commissioners. How many do we have now? How many can we actually get along with? probably a lot less. Maybe we should look at that. Now, can we do that by state law? I'm not sure. Rosicki's the one that wrote the book on that, and maybe that question should go to him.
Thanks, Andy. And we move on now to the eloquent and windy George Moss. And the question, I believe, is going to start. Did we get the full round on that?
It starts back at.
It's going to start back at Bill Bain. We'll get this question first.
Okay, being brief again.
Or for the first time.
As I understand your answers to the county executive position, two were pretty much on board with it, and I think, Bill, you were kind of a little reticent about it. I do think some coordination is necessary, and I'm going to ask you, given the fact that we do need to have more of a voice in Lansing, do you see how, by having 83 counties, each board being separate and distinct, do you see a need to have some coordination among the counties so that whatever voice you have out here, maybe in a more consolidated way, you can speak more singularly to the power in the state? And do you see how that go about being done?
I think as individual leaders, we can go ahead and take the lead and talk to our representatives and make those even the way it's set up now. But what my concern is these emergency managers have given really a bad taste in the mouth of things being under one head. I want that local input. You know, every community's got its own little problems, and I found a lot of those I didn't know about until I started talking to the residents. And I think we should go ahead and keep it with the commission, and we can be more proactive. We can be the leaders we need to be. You know, just to say that, okay, this is county government, we're just stuck to this, you know, it's like it's all intertwined, local, state, federal. You see a trash can blowing down in the middle of the road. You don't wait for a state senator to get out there if it's causing a traffic problem. You go ahead and you stop, pull over, and you get out so somebody don't get hurt. That's what we need to do as leaders, whether it's local, state, or federal. We need to be proactive, and we need to work together. It needs to be bipartisan too. It needs to be both Republicans and Democrats, and you need moderates. The moderates on both sides. That's just like when Bill Clinton was president. You had the moderates. And that's where we got things done.
Thank you. Andy Everman, same question.
Thank you for that brief question. And just to recap, you want to know how to do the
Your 83 different counties throughout the state, and you're not that powerful given all of these individual units against the power of the state. And to increase your advocacy, what I was asking is, do you see a need to have some kind of conjoining structure among the counties so that they can speak more powerfully to what Lansing is doing?
I understand the concept, and one of the white papers that I wrote when I was at university was how to merge Kettering, U of M Flint, and Mott College into one university, and keeping the open door policy such as Mott Community College has, while expanding the region out instead of just Genesee County to Lapeer and Shiawassee County and Livingston County, the three counties that do not have community colleges at this time. You'd have to change the way trustees are elected because of the way it works now. It's codified. But the idea of a regional government, taking those type of counties and working together, on the surface it's a good idea, but the state has also created the My Buy program. If you're not familiar with it, it's the opportunity for communities to purchase, for example, police cars and other municipal equipment at a very reduced price to try to help out smaller communities. Bill makes a very good point. Small communities might feel disenfranchised. That's the last thing we'd like to see happen. Everybody needs a place at the table.
All right, thank you. Michael Lynch, same question.
Well, I think as a commissioner, you do need to keep some stuff local. We're going to want to know what our local people do, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't go and meet with other counties and try to find common ground. And maybe they've got a better idea than this county, or something's working out better for them. And if you can go to the Lansing with more than one voice, more than one county, you'll always be carrying more in solidarity. You'll carry more weight than just one county. So, you know, I don't know if you concede to, you know, I mean, okay, that county speaks for me now. I would say no. But to work together, to try to have common ground, I mean, those counties have bad roads too. We need to speak together. So I would have no problem at all with meeting with other counties and trying to find common ground that we can go to Lansing and try to get our communities and their communities the help that they really need.
Thank you, and I just want to interject a thought here that from a time standpoint, it's probably good that we have 3 out of the 4 candidates. I think that's the first time I've seen someone ask George to go over a question again.
Nobody's ever asked me.
No, that's.
It was such a brief
In any event, we are going to take a short break. I want to thank some of the technical people, Captain Jack, who's doing the audio for us here from RLX Sound, also our timekeeper, Andrea Sutton, all of the panelists, and the folks here at the White Horse. We're going to take a break for a few minutes. We'll be back with the second half, and we have a special treat coming up. During the break for the people here live at the forum. We're going to hear some live music coming up for just a few minutes, and then we'll come back for the second half.
Okay.